The Third Dynasty of Ur, also known as the Neo-Sumerian Empire, refers to both the 21st to 20th century BC Sumerian ruling dynasty based in the city of Ur and a short-lived territorial political state which some historians consider to have been a nascent empire. The Third Dynasty of Ur is commonly abbreviated as Ur-III by historians studying the period. The Third Dynasty of Ur was the last Sumerian dynasty which came to preeminent power in Mesopotamia. It began after several centuries of control by Akkadian and Gutian kings. It controlled the cities of Izan, Larsa and Esnunna and extended as far north as the Jazira. History. The Third Dynasty of Ur arose sometime after the fall of the Akkad dynasty. The period between the last powerful king of the Akkad dynasty, Shar-Kali-Shari, and the first king of Ur-III, Ur-Nammu, is not well documented, but most Assyriologists posit that there was a brief dark age followed by a power struggle among the most powerful city-states. On the king lists, Shar-Kali-Shari is followed by two more kings of Akkad and 6 in Uruk. However, there are no year names surviving for any of these, nor even any artifacts confirming that any of these reigns was historical, save one artifact for Dudu of Akkad. Akkad's primacy, instead, seems to have been usurped by Gutian invaders from the Zagros, whose kings ruled in Mesopotamia for an indeterminate period, an illiterate and nomadic people. The rule was not conducive to agriculture, nor record-keeping, and by the time they were expelled, the region was crippled by severe famine and skyrocketing grain prices. The last king, Tiragant, was driven out by Utu-Hengel of Uruk, beginning the Sumerian Renaissance. Following Utu-Hengel's reign, Ur-Nammu founded the Third Dynasty of Ur, but the precise events surrounding his rise are unclear. The Sumerian king list tells us that Utu-Hengel had reigned for 7 years, although only one year named for him is known from records, that of his accession, suggesting a shorter reign. It is possible that Ur-Nammu was originally his governor. There are 2 stelae discovered in Ur that include this detail in an inscription about Ur-Nammu's life. Some scholars theorize that Ur-Nammu led a revolt against Utu-Hengel, deposed him, and seized control of the region through force. Another hypothesis is that Ur-Nammu was a close relative to Utu-Hengel, and the latter had asked the former to rule over the city of Ur in his name. After 4 years of ruling in Ur, Ur-Nammu rose to prominence as a warrior king when he crushed the ruler of Lagash in battle, killing the king himself. After this battle, Ur-Nammu seems to have earned the title King of Sumer and Agade. Ur's dominance over the Neo-Sumerian Empire was consolidated with the famous Code of Ur-Nammu, probably the first such law code for Mesopotamia since that of Uruk-Agena of Lagash centuries earlier. Many significant changes occurred in the empire under Shulgi's reign. He took steps to centralize and standardize the procedures of the empire. He is credited with standardizing administrative processes, archival documentation, the tax system, and the national calendar. He established a standing army of Ur. Shulgi was deified during his lifetime, an honor usually reserved for dead kings. With the fall of the Ur-III dynasty after an Elamite invasion in 2004, 1940 BC, Babylonia fell under foreign influence. Timeline of rulers. Assyriologists employ many complicated methods for establishing the most precise dates possible for this period, but controversy still exists. Generally, scholars use either the conventional of the low chronologies. They are as follows, and early code of law. One salient feature of Ur-III is its establishment of one of the earliest known law codes, the Code of Ur-Nammu. It is quite similar to the famous Code of Hammurabi, resembling its prologue and bodily structure. Extant copies, written in Old Babylonian, exist from Nippur, Sippur, and also Ur itself. Although the prologue credits Ur-Nammu, the author is still somewhat under dispute. Some scholars attribute it to his son Shalgi. The prologue to the law code, written in the first person, established the king as the beacon of justice for his land, a role that previous kings normally did not play. He claims to want justice for all, including traditionally unfortunate groups in the kingdom like the widow or the orphan. More legal disputes were dealt with locally by government officials called mayors, although the decision could be appealed and eventually overthrown by the provincial governor. Sometimes legal disputes were publicly aired with witnesses present at a place like the town square or in front of the temple. However, the image of the king as the supreme judge of the land took hold, and this image appears in many literary works and poems. Citizens sometimes read letters of prayer to the king, either present or past. Culture. Sumerian dominated the cultural sphere and was the language of legal, administrative, and economic documents, while signs of the spread of Akkadian could be seen elsewhere. New towns that arose in this period were virtually all given Akkadian names. Culture also thrived through many different types of art forms. Industry and commerce. The Ur kings oversaw many substantial state-run projects, including intricate irrigation systems and centralization of agriculture. An enormous labor force was amassed to work in agriculture, particularly in irrigation, harvesting, and sowing. Textiles were a particularly important industry in Ur during this time. The textile industry was run by the state. Many men, women, and children alike were employed to produce wool and linen clothing. The detailed documents from the administration of this period exhibit a startling amount of centralization. Some scholars have gone so far as to say, no other period in Mesopotamian history reached the same level. Political organization. The land ruled by the Ur kings was divided up into provinces that were each run by a governor. In certain tumultuous regions, military commanders assumed more power in governing. Each province contained a redistribution center where provincial taxes, called bala, would all go to be shipped to the capital. Taxes could be payable in various forms, from crops to livestock to land. The government would then apportion out goods as needed, including giving food rations to the needy and funding temples. Social system. This is an area where scholars have many different views. It had long been posited that the common laborer was nothing more than a serf, but new analysis and documents reveal a possible different picture. Gangs of laborers can be divided into various groups. Certain groups indeed seem to work under compulsion. Others work in order to keep property or get rations from the state. Still other laborers were free men and women for whom social mobility was a possibility. Many families traveled together in search of labor. Such laborers could amass private property and even be promoted to higher positions. This is quite a different picture of a laborer's life than the previous belief that they were afforded no way to move out of the social group they were born into. Slaves also made up a crucial group of labor for the state. One scholar estimates that 2/5 of chattel slaves mentioned in documents were not born slaves but became slaves due to accumulating debt, being sold by family members, or other reasons. However, one surprising feature of this period is that slaves seem to have been able to accumulate some assets and even property during the lifetime such that they could buy the freedom. Extant documents give details about specific deals for slaves' freedoms negotiated with slave owners.